Aloha and welcome to another episode of the Ohana Packers Edition podcast, the podcast where two dudes from halfway around the world talk everything green and gold. I'm Mike, and that's Iowa Joe. Joe, what a no good, rotten, terrible football game we're reviewing today. Did I miss any descriptions that you had on the top of your head, or did those pretty much cover it?
Gross, shitty, ugly, despicable.
Deplorable.
I'm sure
Yeah,
there's other ones out there, but yeah, it wasn't good, and even Matt LaFleur was kind of pissed off in his after game or post game press conference because he said it right. All three phases just sucked, and I mean, yeah, if you want to look at it optimistically, they sucked, but they still put up 22 points. And they still held them down to 24 points and, a last second field goal. But they should have never been in that position anyway. But ugly, yeah, gross. Gross is the one that I go to more often than not, so that's probably mine.
yep. I think there's gonna be a lot of bad in this one. Not many bright spots today. Um, and you know what? Uh, Honestly, Lafleur, like I get that you have coach speak and stuff like that, but 2/3 of this thing that's on your back. One, because I thought he called a crap game on offense, and two, that's your defensive coordinator that's out there blowing this game. And I know it was only 24 points, but this is an opponent that averages 7 points per game. But
no, and I get that, but I mean,
yeah,
they're going to try to look at it from any point of view that
right,
they
right,
can
right.
get. And oh, well, they only gave up 24 points and they only did this and they only did that. And, he's without his starting cornerbacks and he's without his starting this. And so they're going to give him all the excuses they can get, which, as Packer fans and Packer content creators, we're all sick of it. It's we're tired of hearing the same shit over and over again. So
Yep.
I I don't know. I agree to a point that LaFleur's play calling was shit. I think he tried to go to the well once too many times, and that's what happened. But I thought overall some of the ideas were solid. It just and I hate using this word because it's major coach speak, but just the execution didn't happen right. I know we'll get into a little bit more later, but like the one uh double reverse throwback to Love the for the pass, you know, Zach Tom got knocked off his feet and pushed into AJ Dillon and it disrupted the play, you know, tremendously. You can't blame him for giving it a try, but the execution just wasn't there because your right tackle gets blown up and thrown back into, the middle of the play.
Yeah. That honestly was one of the ones I wasn't totally upset about. It was more um using the same look and running the same play out of it every time,
Well,
i.e.,
yeah.
yeah, and stuff. But we'll just get into the offense. Like you said, it's gonna be a lot of just shooting a dead horse at this point on this one. But after a month plus of really good play, it was a bad night at the office for Jordan Love. This is gonna be one where uh, it's hard to say how much of this is a burn the tape game for him and how much of it is like he needs to learn from this one. I just thought from the onset he looked uncomfortable, jittery in the pocket, antsy, whatever. It just looked like he was expecting pressure when there wasn't any to begin. You saw it on his second and third throw of the game where he has Dobbs for what should be an easy first down conversion. And same thing for he kind of just yanks it into the dirt on the one to Dobbs out in the flat, and then the throw to Wicks I think kind of rushed it and kind of like I don't know, it looked like his cleats dug into the turf and he kind of like yanked it too after that, trying to just overcompensate and stuff. But I thought he was just kind of breaking pockets that didn't need to be broken tonight. Looked like he was rushing through reads and stuff, and I get that Martindale is a coach that lives off of pressure and stuff, but I didn't think that coverage wise the Giants did anything in particularly special tonight. I just thought Love just reverted to some terrible habits today, and that's where we'll never know, but that's where I do question some of the game plan ideas because I feel like LaFleur went into this game thinking two things: I don't have my deep threat, and the Giants are going to get pressure, so I have to do everything at the line of scrimmage, and everything has to be a horizontal play. And the reason I don't like that is you're asking Love to be a precision passer, which he's been better the last month, but it's never going to be his game to be a pinpoint accurate passer. And by playing everything within 3 to 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, you just allow Martindale to condense everything down even further and just more further complicate his pressure looks as opposed to spreading him out and making his guys cover ground vertically and horizontally on the field. I think it all culminated with him running that same orbit motion with Reed and never countering off of it. Like the perfect time to have countered off of it would have been the 2 point conversion. Like literally, you ran that thing so many times, and every time it was a handoff to Reed, and all you had to do on that 2 point conversion was have Love pull it or give it to Dylan or something. But I felt like it was a game plan of paralysis by analysis by LaFleur. And like I said, Love is his own man and he's got to handle his business. But I think that overly constricted and tight game plan affected how Love approached the game too. So I don't know. How did you think you saw the marriage of those two sides of the coin in this game?
Well, what's funny is you kind of read my mind because I was thinking the same thing that he looked like he was looking for pressure when there was no pressure. So I don't know if that's what the game plan was, that he just pre-thought pressure was going to be coming. But honestly, the offensive line didn't do
No.
any favors for him. And that's up and down the line. That's not just
Yep.
one single guy. It's up and down the line. That I mean, like I said about the play earlier, Zach Tom was even getting blown up on things,
Yep.
and he's been one of our best linemen for a while now. So the receivers surprisingly weren't the ones that were the problem this game.
Yeah.
That's what we saw a lot of early on in the season, where it was more the wide receivers, and now it wasn't the receivers; it was more the offensive line and the quarterback. Another thing, and you've got it down on here, the running back play. I I and I fucking laughed out loud because I didn't get to watch the game too much because I was at work, so I had to listen to it. Uh, and so I was listening to Wayne and Larry, which I love Wayne and Larry. Great guys, whatever. They're some of the best broadcasters you could ever want. But Larry says something to the effect that, "Oh, I was really happy that they brought Patrick Taylor back, and he's a master of none, but good at a little bit of everything." And I'm just sitting here like, I laughed out loud because like, are we seeing the same friggin' player or not? Yeah, he can make some of he does what you expect a fourth string running back to do, just enough. And I know John Kuhn said during the game that Taylor's in LaFleur's doghouse because there's 3 different times now in 2 games that he should have went out of bounds and he never did. And that tells me right there that he's Jag. He's just a guy. He's not meant to be a rotational type. I'm questioning what's going on with this Ellis Merriweather. Why are they is he injured? Is he not picking up on anything? Because it's kind of funny that we have to bring in Kenyon Drake, which I'm not against bringing in Kenyon Drake, but Kenyon Drake's only been with the team for a week and he's already leapfrogging over Merriweather. So is he not good? Well, if he's not good, then cut his ass and bring somebody else in. You've already done that with James Robinson. You're
Yeah,
leapfrogging him in the rotation when it comes to call-ups with Kenyon Drake, who's only been with the team for 5 days. So, there's gotta be somebody out there that is better than Patrick fucking Taylor.
eh, and like it's what's it called? Like I I was listening to the just the ESPN broadcast, so I had Kevin Harlan and Kurt Warner, and the incredulousness in Kevin Harlan's voice as he's calling that run that Taylor has, where he pops a big gain and he has a chance to go out of bounds and he doesn't, and like obviously I'm only listening to the radio, but in the call I can hear Harlan turning to Warner and like just the disdain in his voice, asking him, Kurt, and he just literally goes, Kurt, what is he doing? And Kurt goes, I have no idea. like and and that's the part for me that's inexcusable is okay, like the excuse we've heard is, and I get what you're saying, like they cut Taylor, he's gone to another team, they brought in Merriweather, and they brought in Drake and yada yada yada. And okay, I get that Taylor's a bit of a binky player. You bring him back because you trust him, but this is 2 weeks in a row, 3 plays in the 2-minute drill where you're supposed to be the reliable, smart player, and you make inexcusable football 101 dumb mistakes about clock management. And I saw people last week, they're like, oh, but maybe they want to run clock and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, who gives a fuck? You're playing the Chiefs. You need to score as many points as you can. Who cares about what time you leave on the clock for Mahomes? Your goal is to score. I don't give two shits about what else happens. Your goal is to score. And then in this game today, it's like you guys haven't the diddly squat outside of your one touchdown drive. And even that one was saved by the graces of God because Wicks didn't run. That was one of the few wide receivers screw ups on the night is Wicks ran a route for half a yard when we needed a full yard and got bailed out by the powers that be of this refereeing crew. But yeah, like that to me, like that, those are the kind of things that I can't stand. As like I said, I didn't my football quote unquote career doesn't mean a damn because I never even started in Vars or anything like that. But as someone who wasn't overly athletic, who never was gonna get by on physical talent, and had to always play the mental game of like, I know the whole playbook. I know what every position is supposed to do. I know the concept of every play. I know what we're trying to, quote unquote, trying to accomplish on any given situation. To make that kind of inexcusable mistake 2 weeks in a row is just infuriating to me. And like I said, it fully pulls into question if that's the guy that you're counting on to be the smart, heady player, then what the fuck is he doing out there? Like, I hate dropping that many f bombs in one sentence on one person, but it's like it just doesn't, it does not compute. Like I do not understand what we're trying to do here, and
Well, that's
yeah,
what I mean. There's gotta be somebody else out there. I I know I got an argument, well, not argument, but I got into a discussion with this with former co-host Nick Gregory that, well, Tyler Goodson's a Jag too. Well, Tyler Goodson's Jag too. Well, that's fine. But at least I know Goodson has a little bit more ability than what Taylor does. He's going to know the same playbook because he's been with the team just as recent as Taylor has. Why not give another guy a shot? You could bring him in. If he doesn't work, cut the guy loose, bring him back to the practice squad, whatever, because he's still got call ups. But there's got to be other people out there that, hell, bring Lou Nichols back. Where the hell's he at right now? He's just sitting on the street. There's got to be somebody out there that they can bring in to do what they're hoping Patrick Taylor can do. Again, I go back to why is Alice Merriweather just sitting there? And I mean, I get it. You don't want to rush a guy, but you've got him. You're giving this guy a practice squad spot, but yet he keeps getting jumped by everybody. James Robinson was jumping him in the rotation. Now it's Kenyon Drake's jumping him in the rotation. You went out and brought in Patrick Taylor again because for some reason you weren't going to use Ellis Merriweather. So what's he doing? You can't prepare for him next year because if you can't trust him now, you can't trust him next year.
Yep.
You got to
Like
see what you got with him.
that's the thing is it's like I know everyone's like we have to trust them. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like the kind of trust that these coaches are talking about. Those are like a guy can do something right every time in practice, but do you really gonna trust him when you put him in the game and he fucks it up the first 2 times he gets in there, kind of thing? Like,
Well,
yeah,
and that's what
like
we kept hearing with Enigbare. You know, he wasn't doing the right things in practice. He wasn't doing the right things in practice, but the minute they put him out on the field, he was doing the right things out on the field.
yeah. So, uh it was just one of those games where, like I said, it was disjointed all the way through. There were, uh, the if you want to put the silver lining on tonight, the thing that I'll give love is, the outcome hasn't been what you wanted it to be for him, except for the Saints game, which honestly, this game was incredibly similar to in terms of how that game went and how it and just like the ending was just off in terms of did you make the kick or did you miss it kind of thing. But the like I do like that he might be playing a shit game the whole game, but if he's in it at the end, he does look like a guy that you've got a chance. And yes, I know he did it again. He made it happen against the Saints. He blew it against the Raiders. He blew it against the Broncos, but made it. And he and the whole offense blew it against the Vikings the first time they played. But you know, you can only say good things. That look, he put his team in position to score 3 times. Anders, we'll talk about him, blew one of the kicks, and he did score the touchdown to put the team up late in the game. And that's my silver line. That's like the only silver lining I've got on this game tonight is that, like,
And
yeah,
I
it
got to
was,
give him credit that he also has a short-term memory, you know,
yep,
because he
yep,
didn't let the interception get to him. He didn't let the fumble get to him. He still stood his ground in the pocket. Did he look good there? No, but he still, it wasn't like he went
yeah,
out there gun shy after that stuff
yeah.
happened.
Like those 2 throws that he makes to Heath at the end of the game, like I mean, it's the whole like, okay, we need the rest. We need the rest of the game. It doesn't have to be at that level, but those 2 throws he makes to Heath in the end zone, the one that probably should have been a touchdown, and then the one that was a touchdown, like those are 2 A++ caliber plays. And
Even the throws he made to Torre and Dobbs that didn't end up being touchdowns were still
yeah,
well-placed balls.
yeah, yeah,
And the one with Torre, the only reason why it wasn't in the right spot was because he had a defender in his face.
yeah.
If he would have been able to get rid of it a little bit sooner, that'd have been a touchdown.
Yeah, Aikman did a really good job breaking that one down. That is like if Jihad Ward isn't there, that's a touchdown because he's like you throw it right there. And,
Yep.
and I know, like you see people like that throws late. I'm like, what's he supposed to do? Throw it off Ward's helmet? Like, come on, like. But yeah, it's frustrating as all hell. And like I said, I totally accept that Love is gonna have games where you're just like, is he just banging his head off the turf kind of things and stuff? Because that's part of the growing process. But like I said, my whole thing is the guys that should be the relative adults in the room, like you said, the O line let him down today. The O line, the left to right, and even like Yost didn't have a good time when he got put in. I don't think Ryan played enough snaps to really do it, but Jenkins got pushed into him on the throw that he had to the other throw he had to Toure into the end zone. Runyon got runned over on that one sack. I thought Myers actually was okay. Like he had some flash plays, and I didn't think he had any plays where he really like just blew it up. Like he had, he's had those couple of plays the last few weeks where it's like, oh my god, he's terrible. But I thought Myers actually played a pretty quiet game, and like you said, and I thought Tom was good outside of getting, and even on that trick play, like it's one of those where it just was a microcosm of the whole game because I'm like, unless he like just shoves Tucker Kraft in the back, I don't know what he's supposed to do on that one. Like that one just showed how kerfuffled this whole game was tonight. But yeah, like it wasn't a good day in the office for the O line, and yeah, I felt like LaFleur, like I said, I think he overcompensated for Watson being out and just was like, if Wink did what he did to Rodgers last year in London, what's he going to do to Love today kind of thing. And I felt like the game plan was after spending 3 weeks of just opening it up. And, and like I said, those were three good defensive fronts that they faced the last 3 weeks. And I get that Martindale brings extra pressure, but I thought that LaFleur called this was one of his scared money, don't make money kind of games. And I like you said, there was attempts to take some of the burden off of Love, but I thought he went too far in that direction, and in the end it got Love out of rhythm, and like he just needed to just
Right.
trust your
He went to
quarterback at some point.
he
Yeah.
went to the well one too many times. Like you said earlier, he was running the same play from the same look multiple times, and you can't do that when you're running trick plays. If you want to run trick plays, the whole point of it is the keyword trick. You have to trick the defense into believing something happens. Well, if you're getting given a guy like Wink Martindale the same look over and over again, you're no longer tricking him.
Yeah. So,
And
yeah.
the only thing that I'll disagree with you on, or not disagree with, but maybe have an excuse for with the Dylan didn't get the ball enough for on our show notes is I got to believe it's got to be something to do with
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
groin.
More I put that more out of frustration, but you're right. Like I just looking at him, and I got to give him he's probably going to be my MVP just because he's giving them all he's got at this point. You can tell that groin and some other stuff is nagging him, but he had some of the few bright spots on offense too and stuff. And it's just a bummer that he's also dinged up right now, because another bit of mad irony is like he was having some success today, and they could have used like even a 90% healthy Dylan at this point. And I know I appreciate that he's giving them all he's got at this point, but unfortunately, like they needed other guys to carry the water, and they couldn't today. But from the side of the ball that was disappointing, that was, I don't want to say surprisingly disappointing, but like a disappointed father in their child who spilt the milk one time. Now we're looking at the kid who always screws things up, and that's Joe Barry's defense. And tweeted it before the game, and I was like, the only part I'm wrong on is that it wasn't Saquon Barkley who had the yardage, which I'm sure is where, yeah, I'm sure that's where Barry's gonna hang his head. He's like, oh well, yeah, they had 6 yards per carry, but Barkley only got 4 yards per carry, and we held him in check kind of thing. But it's like, I tweeted about this after the game. So like it was surprising how similar the endings of both Monday night games were, where the road team scored to go up 1 late in the game, and then had to stop the opposing offense with a minute and change on the clock. The Titans with Mike Vrabel do not let the Dolphins, a much better offense than this Giants offense, get to midfield. Barry it takes 3 plays for the Giants with a third string quarterback who's getting talked up because he makes stupid Italian hand signals and lives on his parents' couch.
Whoa. Wait a minute. Let's not disrespect the
There's
Italians
nothing wrong
right
with
now.
it for guys like us, but when it's getting highlighted,
not letting the mafia come to my door. So whatever is being said is by Mike Kawano in Hawaii right now.
The mafia doesn't know how to find the middle of nowhere Iowa anyway, so you're safe too.
Don't say that, because this is a history lesson, but Kansas City was a big mafia location.
Right, that's true.
So yeah. So
that's a hop and a skip and a jump, but hopefully they end up in Indiana instead of Iowa.
But these viewpoints are of Mike Kawano in Hawaii from this moment on.
But I tweeted, I said, so you have one coach who preaches like, make the play, be the aggressor. And then you've got Barry with his, just keep it in front of us. Just don't let him make the big play. And it's like, dude, the only big plays your defense hasn't really given up this year are true vertical shots. But every other type of explosive, I don't think Barry admits that explosives are 20-yard pass plays and 10-yard rush plays, because I tweeted it. I was like, like instead of slamming the door shut, Barry's like, I'm gonna leave the barn door, the garage door, the patio door, the side door, the kitchen door. I'm gonna leave them all open, but I've got a roof over my head, so I don't care what happens otherwise. And it's like, it does. And like Paul Noonan tweeted it, he's like, they've got 2 timeouts and 90 seconds. You can't play prevent, because, and that's the thing, is it's like a field goal kills you. Like, you can't play this like this is some sort of like they've got 20 seconds and no timeouts. But
Well, the big stat that really makes me mad because there should have been no reason for it. Is 0 sacks. They came in giving up the most one of the what is it? They gave up the most sacks.
in the past, for every game DeVito started, they're like the highest sack rate or something like that.
And there's no sacks. From a guy like Rashawn Gary from Preston Smith, Lucas Van Ness, nobody's
And
getting a sack on this guy.
and the part that's frustrating, and I know that people who defend Barry for reasons I do not understand in this world, is they're gonna put it all. And yes, the players have to be more disciplined, but to me, that is a philosophical thing from your coordinator, because what have we seen the past few games against um, Justin Herbert, even Kenny Pickett to an extent because he can move, and obviously Mahomes last week. We saw guys who were pretty judicious about staying in rush lanes, staying disciplined. And tonight it was almost like, and I can't say that it's all 10 guys who rotate on the defensive front that just said, well, bucket, we're just going to go hog wild and do whatever the hell we want. Like, those kind of things, when it's that kind of, and it's, like I said, it's not like it's just Rashawn hunting sacks or it's Preston hunting stats or Kenny hunting stats. It was, everybody was just like, because they were there. And I know that this is going to be one of those stupid games where PFF's going to be like, well, they had pressures on 60% of DeVito's dropbacks or something like that. But when the dude breaks the pocket for 71 rushing yards and you, like you said, you don't get an actual sack on him. I think the closest was Van Ness tackling him, but because he had to like sling him down from the side, he ended up kind of throwing him for a 1 yard gain kind of
Well, and
thing.
I don't think that was going to be considered a sack anyway. I tweeted that to somebody earlier where
It was
I think
somewhere
at
in
that
that gray
point
area
he
of,
would
is
have,
like, is it a draw or not kind of thing and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah. But yeah, like, but like the fact that we're parsing through that to say like, was that it kind of thing? Like, it just, yeah, like we said, stats lie. Like, people who want to defend, I don't know why. Like, I don't want to say, like, I'm not here to gatekeep or tell you, but I'm like, do you want your team to be successful? What makes you think that success is in the future if Barry is your defensive coordinator? Like, the past few weeks, it's taken the Chargers forgetting how to drop the or how to catch the football, superhuman effort by Rashawn Gary on Thanksgiving, and the defensive front playing out of their domes last week Sunday night. And because otherwise it was the same thing as like Barry's whole scheme is, I'm gonna bleed myself dry, but we're gonna count on somebody to make a mistake, not for us to make a play. If one of you happens to go supernova and make a play on your own, great, but we're gonna count on the other guys to make a mistake. And it's like, uh, we're just watching the same stupid drama every week, and I don't know why we expect a different outcome. That's why I can't speak for you, Joe, but for me, when we come in and do the review, that's why I'm genuinely shocked when the defense has a good game, because I'm like, I know how this story ends. And
Yeah.
yeah, and then it's just being happy for the guys who had really good games kind of thing, but
Well,
it
that's
ain't
all you
anything
can
Barry's
do.
doing.
That's all you can do is just be happy for the guys that are having the good games. I know it says down on your notes that young DBs got exposed, but I don't know if they really got exposed or if they were just getting
Hung out to
put out
dry
of
a little
play.
bit too. Yeah.
Because here's a stat for you: DeVito was 17 of 21 for 158 yards. He wasn't like really carving up the secondary with passing. He just was making the throws that needed to be made at the time that they needed to be made. And it was all just behind that rushing attack. 86 yards for Barkley, 71 for DeVito, 36 for Robinson, 16 for Breida. Robinson was averaging 18 yards a friggin' carry, and he only had 2 carries.
Yep.
DeVito was averaging 7.1 a carry.
and and like I said, I put the silver lining on Love making the most out of the opportunity he was given. But let's not even pretend that it took one of the flukiest fumbles that any of us will see in our lifetime for the Packers to get the ball back to have a chance, because the Giants were forget it. If Barkley like falls out of bounds or slides or trip, like if Rashawn doesn't jump over him when he goes to the ground, the Giants are going to score a touchdown, and it's just a matter of, do the Packers lose by 2 or
or at
9
least
at that
get
point?
or at least get a
Yeah,
field goal.
yeah,
So, yeah, I get you. I mean, everything in the world was trying to help the Packers out in that last few minutes, but they just kept shooting themselves in the foot.
yeah. So, like
And
we
I really
said,
got to say that even some of the defensive linemen were kind of stepping up. Slayton was looking decent.
Slayton was having a hell of a game tonight.
Kenny Clark was looking decent. Even for the most part, Devontae Wyatt was looking
yeah,
pretty good. But it just they weren't like culminating together. This one would have a good snap, but these two weren't. And then
yeah,
these two were having good snaps, but this one wasn't. So they weren't like culminating together.
yeah. Like it was like, I keep saying, everything was a microcosm of how this game went. But like you said, like this team, like, everyone talks about like, why are the best teams the best teams, and it's because they can play complementary football. And Barry isn't a complimentary, he's a hanger oner, as Charles Barkley would say. Like, his whole defensive scheme is, you got to have an offense that's going to put up 30 points a game, and I'll just hold the other guys to 24 or 27 or less. And if we're scoring 30 and they're scoring 27, I'm doing my job, kind of thing. But it's like, the moment that you need his defense to do something for you, it's like fat chance, kind of thing. But,
Yeah.
and like I said, the only reason I keep bringing it up is because that's a reflection on LaFleur. And fair or not, right or wrong, whatever, that's your hire. That's your choice to keep him around.
And it's not
And
just LaFleur. It's been LaFleur, it's been McCarthy. They keep getting these guys that run this major bend don't break systems, and they it's like the whole, how do I want to put this? It's like they draft guys who are tremendous athletes but don't fit the system. So then they have to like put a round peg in a square hole when it comes to these systems. And it just doesn't work. And not that we have bad players. We have a
right,
lot of good players. We have a lot of great players, but
yep.
this whole system just is not working for them.
It like, and that's where like the lack of discipline is. Like, people are like, oh, but isn't that on the players? But I'm like, if you're told like, just hold the line, hold your water, kind of thing for the whole season, and then you go into this game and it's like, guys, we're gonna get pressure, and it's like, oh, okay, like, so I can go batshit crazy this week. And that's what, like I said, that's what all of them did. And that's where I say, yeah, like, yes, there's certain fundamentals that should be ingrained in every player and all that kind of crap and stuff. But at the end of the day, when your whole defensive front isn't maintaining gap integrity, that's a coaching problem. Like, if it's just one guy, then that guy sucks. Like, or that guy can't get it between the ears, or he can't physically do it. But if it's the whole thing, the whole operation is a failure, that's on coaching. And that goes up the chain of command to, like I said, it's his scheme. And above that, Barry is LaFleur's choice. And, we talk about, like, we'll go over this in the offseason, depending what happens and all that kind of stuff. But if they're really expecting to make a push in the near future, especially like before Murphy goes out the door and all that kind of crap, I just don't understand how Barry can be part of that equation. But we'll beat that horse. We'll beat the carcass of that horse again in the offseason. But this is one of
Right.
those games where it's like, not to, because obviously I'd rather the team win and paper mache over a lot of this stuff, or guys like Gary and obviously Quay's hurt, Jair's hurt, but like guys like Rashawn or Kenny just say, get on my back, boys, I'm gonna take us to the victory, kind of thing. And like I said, they've kind of done that the last couple weeks, but they just weren't able to do it tonight for whatever reason. And when, like I said, when you're not getting superhuman efforts from some of those guys, this defense just doesn't do shit. Like, for all intents and purposes, it's just useless at that point. And then, as bad as the offense was, as bad as the defense was, you cannot then, in conjunction, have as shit of a day as special teams did today. And this was one of those games where if the Packers have one unit that was just average today, they're going to win this game by at least a touchdown. But because you've got the defense just hemorrhaging yards and therefore points away, the offense couldn't get out of its own way. It kept, its pants kept falling down as it was trying to pick up the ball, kind of thing, and that kind of thing. I mean, Keyshawn, you're awesome when you're on, but when you're off, you look like you have no idea how to play football sometimes.
And I got to give him credit. He fully
Yep,
admitted he
yep,
played like shit today. So I mean, it's not like he was coming out and
yep,
making excuses for it. He
yep,
fully owned up to it.
yep. But it's just like I said, and I'm not here to bury him or anything like that. Like, him picking the ball up, that was what was one of the catalysts from last year. But it's like, you gotta understand the game situation. Your team is struggling. Like, just get the ball, just go in the fetal position. It's fine. Like, you already dodged the bullet, and then you went and blew the hand grenade up in your face anyway afterward, kind of thing. And then some of the penalties today, the way the refs started this game out, I have no idea what they were trying to do. Like, I thought it was a poorly officiated game to start the game. The call on Johnson Jr., Anthony Johnson Jr., I thought that was a terrible call.
Yeah, that one didn't make sense to me because they called it a blindside block, but it clearly was not. I mean, the guy was
Because,
looking right at him.
yeah, and like, and yeah, like, they're like, oh, but like, he's not going back towards the line of scrimmage, because that call is kind of normally like the one that old linemen get when they peel off on pass
Right.
rushers, but he's going downfield, and you can see the gunner look at him, and he, like, he, as he's running, he recoils, and that's kind of why it looks, the impact looks worse, is because that guy kind of just goes limp, because he's like, okay, like, I'm out of this play, kind of thing and stuff. But I don't know, like, that penalty, and then the one they
I
call on
suppose
Rudy
we
Ford.
saw it in slow mo. I guess in real time that might look a little bit different, but yeah. Now the one on Ford, I know that's what you were just getting ready to say. I don't know
Yeah,
because yeah,
it's
it was a bad play all around. The guy wasn't paying attention to where he was at to catch the ball, but Ford should have been aware of where he was at, but he was engaged in a block.
yeah. And, like, I tweeted it. I was like, that's a letter of the law call, but that's not the intent of it at all. And, like you said, that was the part that I was really mad about. Is I was like, Ford has to be given some opportunity to, like, find the ball and get out of the way, kind of thing, because by the time he looks up and even sees Olszewski is, like, about to run into him, he's, like you said, he's just discarded the guy blocking him at that point. And I'm pretty sure he only has because the guy blocking him finally heard the get out call from the punt returner. And so by that point, like, there's, and everyone's like, how does how would you know what I was like, okay, like, as sophisticated as certain things are in football, there's only certain, you don't have time to come up with a safe word for punt return. At the end of the day, it's going to devolve into get the F out of the way. Like, like, it's just going to be like clear, 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 out, 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 off, off, off. So, like, we're going, there's no word for lemonade or something fancy like that. We're going with a single syllable that just means, like, get out of the way, kind of thing. And so, and yeah, like, by that point, Ford is himself, he's like, oh, like, he's thinking like, oh God, like, where is it? I've got to get out of the way too. Like, and, like, literally the only thing he can do is maybe dive, like, just in some direction, kind of thing. But yeah, like, I know that, like I said, I'm not complaining about it in the sense that, like, it shouldn't be thrown, because the Packers have definitely benefited from stuff like that. But it is one of those where it's like, feel like you're cheating the intent of the rule kind of thing and stuff. And we did get kind of a ball don't lie out of that one because I'm pretty sure that's when they shanked the field goal after that one and stuff. But yeah, it's just one of those where I'm like, I feel like this ref crew was like, oh, it was a banner day
Well, and I
yesterday.
think we got our revenge for the no call last week against the Chiefs because that pass interference on Carrington was a little ticky tacky, just to put it simply. I just there wasn't anything there. If anything, you probably could have got a push off from the receiver because that's how they got their arms got tangled.
Right.
Was he
And then
reached
on top
back
of
to
that,
push?
yeah, Slayton's not even looking for the ball. Like he gave up on the play and not because of the contact. He looked like he gave up because he's like, okay, I ran past my guy, like I'm done. And then when he turns around for the ball, he's not even trying to like he's just kind of like, is the play over kind of thing
Yeah.
and stuff. So, but those plays alone did not lose it or win it for either side. Like, but it just kind of shows how, as the kids say, how drunk this game was today. But yeah, it, like we said at the top, it was just a no good, crappy, deplorable, disgusting game. And
And I wonder about Wayne and Larry were wondering this too about the win situation at the bowl level because it seemed like, on a couple of things, like Love was airing the ball, the ball was going a little
yeah,
bit further than and then the miss by Anders and the miss by Bullock.
yeah, because Anders looked like, and yeah, like
I didn't get to see that one. I heard it, but like I said, the whole time
it,
Wayne and Larry just kept saying it
yeah,
seemed like something was going on with the wind on the lower
it
level.
it had to have been. And I heard, I was reading different things because some people were saying like no it shouldn't be, but other people were like no, like there's definitely, because Anders was doing that thing. You remember how Crosby would do it where he would kick the ball like low, like
Yeah,
it, like you and I could go out and reach out and probably tip the kick kind of thing. That's what he looked like on all of his kicks tonight, is like he wasn't putting any air under anything tonight. So yeah, and then like before the half there was that whole incident with like, oh my god, did Anders just kick it out of bounds, but then the guy actually,
yeah,
it did go off. But even that one, it's like there was a few of those where it was kind of like, why are we kicking like that? So I, yeah, and then like I said, I do think the couple of the love throw, the one that I, it made me wonder more about the win was not any of the ones on the first drive, because like I said, I thought the one to Dobbs, he just yanked that one. I like you said, it seemed like he thought there was way more pressure than there should be, but it's like, just take your one step drop. If you're getting hit off of a one step drop, like you can go and yell at people on the sideline. Like,
yeah,
yeah, just plant your feet and make a good throw. So that one's on Love. The second one, like I said, it looked like he got his, it kind of was like the when he, with the kind of messed up fourth down play against the Saints, where, but instead of his foot slipping this time, it looked like his cleat got dug in, and then he kind of like, it looked like he knew it dug in and his foot kind of got stuck, and he kind of was like, like, and he kind of just like almost panicked through it because he was like, I just gotta compensate and get it out there kind of thing. The
yeah.
one that I was
And like
like,
I said, I don't know because I
yeah,
didn't get to watch that parts of it.
the
I just
one that
going off what
definitely looked
Wayne
a
and
little
Larry said.
wayward was the throw to Dylan on the next drive, where it looked like he had it, and then I think part of it too is the fact that Dylan's injured, but it did look like it sailed on Love. But it is hard to say, and I'll trust Wayne and stuff because they're like there, and I know they do kind of go down to the field before, and obviously they're in the press box, so they can kind of see and stuff. So I don't doubt that there was, because like you said too, like the kicking game was a little wonky as well. So yeah, I think the conditions were a little off, and well, and then we have to remember what the Jets game that they played there yesterday was. It looked like a friggin' monsoon when they played the Texans yesterday. So wouldn't be surprised if some remnants of whatever that system was are still there, kind of thing. But you gotta, like, come on, you're the Packers quarterback. You're gonna play in worse situations. So like, I would have liked to have seen a better performance from Love, but like we said, that's all part of the learning experience for him. And the most important thing to me is, like, I know we keep kind of bouncing off the same points, but I appreciate that he doesn't let one mistake kill him for too long kind of thing. And not the like Favre, I'm going to go and make the same mistake again kind of thing. It's more the like,
Yeah.
I can't, it's not going to do me any good for, like kind of like the last guy would, where he would just kind of turtle up and be like, well, I'm not throwing to that guy. I'm not throwing to that part of the field. I'm not throwing at that defender anymore. Love's like, there's still more plays to be made. Yeah, I made a bad mistake on the last one, but I got to go and try again kind of thing. And like I said, we've seen that throughout the season with differing degrees of success and failure. But I do think it is a good skill, mentality, whatever label you want to put to it. I do think it's something you have to have as an NFL quarterback in order to not just survive, but to thrive in this league.
Right.
Yeah. As we take a big, deep sigh, Joe, do you have anything left on this one?
Not necessarily on the game, but something just popped in mind that it kind of came up as a controversy over this past week uh with availability with the players, and that's the whole Jair situation. I I don't know how many times we hear that from fans and media and all that that we don't have anybody on the team that they're not cocky or they're not trash talkers, they're not hard nosed and all that. But then when we get somebody who is, oh, well, we don't want that on our team. We don't want that on our team. Jair, there's no way Jair's goal breaking. There's no way
No.
he's making up what he's doing. There's something wrong with it. There's an issue. I'm He's getting paid to play football. If he was set to go, he would go. There's
Yeah.
no doubt in my mind. Just like David Bakhtiari. If there was any chance for him to play, he'd be out there playing.
Yep.
But there's not. But we all know how Jair's style is. He's flamboyant. Of course, I'm waiting for the day he comes in with like some kind of uh, weird hairdo that looks like the old Flock of Seagulls hairdo, and like Prince outfit or the Eddie Murphy raw leather outfit or
Yeah.
whatever.
I think he's already done the jumbo hat thing at some point too. So yeah,
So,
like
but I mean, you want it, but when we get it, you don't like it.
yeah.
And I know Mike Daniels has been adamant on Twitter about this, that there doesn't seem to be anybody on the team that does. Well, we do have certain guys, but then when they get to be that way, the fans and everybody else don't want
Yeah.
them.
And what hurts Jair, and from my point of view, is I'm like, do you and do so, but from his point of view, like when he's like, oh, like, why are you guys looking at me? I'm like, Jair, you're playing like shit right now. Like, it looks dumb when you're playing like shit and you're doing all of your antics. It looks like we all love it when you're doing it and you're playing at fine to great kind of thing. But yeah, it's one of those, it doesn't bother me kind of thing. Like, like I said, I get irritated when you're doing all the gyrations and shit, but you're playing like shit kind of thing. Cause then I'm just like, can you just play better? Like, whatever, like, and all. But I totally agree with you where it's like, he's like walking the fine line of telling you he's trying to be back, he's trying to be out there with his brothers, but like you said, for whatever reason, something just ain't clicking. Whether it's like he's failing the strength test at the end of the week, or the doctor is just not convinced that he's at the right point in the recovery, whatever. Like, as bad as this sounds, I'm just happy we're talking about his shoulder now instead of his back, because you can fix a shoulder. The back was the one that I was way more concerned about than this. So like, I don't care. Like, he's under contract for a couple more years. Like, he's gonna be a Packer, whatever. And I want him to be good. And I've said this about a lot of guys. I want guys like him, guys like Rashawn, they need to be great on the next great Packers team. Obviously, I'm sure I would give my left arm for all of them to be healthy all the time. But that's just not how it works. And yeah, like, I know that it doesn't matter what you and I say because these people who are making these kind of comments are going to say whatever they want. But I guarantee you that they're the same ones that if we traded Jair and he goes on to be another like 5-time Pro Bowler or All Pro, why the hell did we trade him? Like that was the biggest mistake ever. It's like just shut up already. Like
Well,
he's
and the main clip that's been going around is I think the guy's name is Gary Ellerson and
oh
Steve the Homer Truth. I got so eh, well, they just need to be off the team. They don't represent what being a Packer is. Why don't they? I mean,
and
he
then
was even he
he
even said
tried
the
to
same thing
backtrack when
about
Bakhtiari called his ass out on it too. Like Bakhtiari's like, what do you mean he's being like David Bakhtiari? Like it's the same
yeah.
as the Bakhtiari problem. And then Ellerson tried to say like, I never said it was a bad, or I didn't say it, or I forget how he worded it. And Robin Adams was like, he literally said it's a bad thing. Like he literally said the words, "This is a bad thing for the team," and it's like,
But I don't get that. I
yeah,
mean, yeah, I'm gonna get off my soapbox now because we need to move on. But it just quit complaining about stuff that you want. I mean, it's the same thing. Like if Mike Daniels were to walk through the door tomorrow, how many of them would be complaining that we have a guy running his mouth every week?
yeah. So and I just put like, and that's the thing with the show. I don't remember which shoulder he hurt and which one he hurt back in 2021. But if it's the same one,
I
like
don't think it is. I think they have
okay,
come out and said it's the opposite shoulder, so they're not worried
okay.
about the.
But even more so, it's like okay, like they obviously like took their time with the other one, but now you don't want him to have two bad shoulders, kind of thing and stuff. So yeah, but that's why I'm just like, I know this is gonna sound like yes, I want this team to have as much success as it can this year, but unless every other team gets struck by lightning when they walk into the arena as they're about to play the Packers still might not beat the team that got struck by lightning. So it's like I said, yes, it would be awesome if they caught, to use the similar analogy, if this team somehow catches lightning in a bottle and just the whole like they're too young to know better kind of thing. Sure, it would be great to have Jair, and it obviously would be great to have Bakhtiari. We saw that tonight, but at the same time, it's like this team, the chances of that happening are like less than 1%. And yeah, I'd love to see the best players on the team play, but if you tell me that they have a chance to be back at as fully healthy as they can be on the next Super Bowl contending Packers team, I'll take that over them potentially risking a career-ending injury by playing in this season. That's, it's going to be good for the feels and all that kind of stuff and the vibes, but it's not going to be worth much more than
And if
that.
he wants to wear a championship belt and goofy sunglasses and tracksuits, just let him fucking do it.
Half this game is mental anyway, and like I said, it looks dumb when like he's injured or he's not playing well, but those are Jair is one of those guys who's that it's that mentality where it's like, I need to talk to Eddie. He's going to talk to himself. He's going to talk to his teammates. He's going to talk to the opponent. He's going to talk smack to the ref, the cameraman and stuff. Like he's just one of those guys. And like we said it all, like Leroy Butler said it all the time. You need as many Wayne Simmons as you need Reggie Whites on your team to have a championship roster. And obviously, Jair isn't as crazy as Wayne Simmons was, but you need you need all kinds of personalities to have a title contending roster. And this team is better with Jair, a healthy Jair on it, and he's just not healthy right now. And like, there's not much we can do about it. But bringing it back to this game, we're gonna wrap this one up pretty quick, and this segment won't take long. Joe, do you even have an MVP for this week?
I do because I think it's really good that Malik Heath. I mean, that those like you said earlier, that one should have been a touchdown because he had control. He had the ball down or 2 feet down, and then it was knocked out of his hands. But he still came back, made an amazing catch.
Topped
While
it. Yeah,
losing,
yeah.
yeah, while losing his helmet. Um, So yeah, I got to give it to him just because to come out of Ole Miss and have this stigma against him, and now he's starting to really come into his own. I got to give it to him.
Yeah, no, he definitely deserves it. And I alluded to mine earlier. I'm gonna give some love to AJ Dillon. Like I said, he's obvious. I don't know if he's at 70% right now, but whatever he is, it ain't fully healthy because he's not. He only had, what did he have today? Uh 17 touches, which is honestly, if that feels way more than I thought it was watching the game. But I think he gave them everything he had tonight. Would have been nice to see it, his efforts rewarded a little bit better, but I mean, just didn't have enough guys who kind of left it all out on the field today. But LVP, think we're gonna kind of come down and it's just gonna be a matter of who, but I've got Joe Barry. Like we told you, the broken clock is right twice a day, and we've seen that a couple times in the last few weeks. And this game, this was the Pittsburgh game, this was the Falcons game all over again. Just a different shitty team on the road that we're facing, and you just let them steal you. You just let them rob the store with you behind the counter, and that's the Joe Barry experience.
There's so many on the team that it could be, but I'm going to go with ESPN. Um, I get you had two games going on simultaneously, but if I'm watching one, I just want to see that one. I don't need you to shrink the screen and pop the other. I don't want picture in picture. If I want picture in picture, I'll do it my damn self. So
I think Joe and Troy even kind of sounded annoyed at that because like obviously they're just watching the game out of the press box, but they do have like TVs next to them, kind of thing. And I forget, one of them made a comment. They're like, "Oh, like looks like we're sharing the air," kind of thing. And I know some people are gonna be like, "Oh, those two are full of themselves," kind of thing. But like, even those guys are like, "We're on ABC," like, and they're on ESPN. Like, those guys know it too,
well, and
kind of thing.
it's not like they're watching it on 75-inch TVs, they're watching it on little monitors. So
Yeah,
when you go from this big of a picture down to this big of a
yeah,
picture, it gets even harder to do your job.
yeah.
And so, yeah, that would be my LVP is, ESPN really, for one, there shouldn't have been two Monday night games scheduled at the same fucking time.
Right.
But two, if I want to watch that game, I'll turn to that game. Don't make me watch it at the same
Yeah,
time because with my uh, adult ADHD ass, I had a hard time concentrating on my game because it kept wanting to drift over, and I don't give a fuck about the Titans
yeah.
or the Dolphins or anything like that.
So, yep, and I do feel bad for Scott Van Pelt taking some pot shots because it was always him, like, like look what's happening over on the other game. Everyone's like, Scott Van Pelt, not Scott Hansen, is not Scott Hansen. I was like, oh, leave SVP alone. Like, I don't think this is his idea, but yeah, it was honestly, like I said, it was just one of those nights where everything felt like that, where not it was a everything was just off kilter and no good and blah. So we're gonna put a bow on it tonight. But just a programming note, this pod, and we'll have tweeted about it, but this pod is coming out a day later because the game was on Monday night, and our opponent preview pod is gonna come out Friday instead of Thursday this week, just because of some programming, just because we're gonna be overlapping due to the game being a day later than it was.
And
But
deal with
um
it because this gives me a little extra time to edit and put all this stuff
Joe
out.
needs to sleep. But want to say thank you for joining us on this episode of the Hana Packers Edition podcast. Please give us a follow. I'm at Kawano Mike on Twitter. Joe is at Iowa_Joe86. The pod is at Ohana_Packers. Please visit our website, ohanapackers.org. We have all of the streams of every podcast episode. Both our game reviews and our opponent preview pods, plus all the off-season ones. Excuse me. Will be going up there subsequently, along with all of our article blog posts. And on top of that, please continue to follow the pod on your favorite podcasting apps. Give us a subscribe and a like if you're enjoying what you're hearing. Any positive feedback is appreciated. Also, if you have negative comments, we appreciate those too, because we are always trying to get better. Packers drop an absolute dud after playing some great football for a month, but that's it. We're moved past it. Hopefully, the Packers are not on Monday night anymore this season, and it's on to Tampa Bay, where the Bucks are they're kind of on the rise a little bit. So Green Bay is going to have to pull itself off the map pretty quickly. But just want to say, go Pack, go, and aloha.